Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I hope you're doing well as I am, of course. This is your Manchester United versus Aston Villa preview. And it is a very interesting game indeed because there hasn't been a bigger contrast between these two teams as there is now. It's like light and day. Aston Villa haven't won in 9 games. Manchester United haven't lost in 16 games. So it's really like night and day. Perhaps Bournemouth was also like night and day, but I think this is far more interesting because Villa is somewhat of a sleeping giant in some people's eyes, and they're not quite the club they used to be. And so we'll be talking about our game against them, the importance of that game, our predicted XI, our predictions in terms of the score, and all that good stuff. If you're interested, smack that like button, and if you're new, please subscribe to the channel. I want to get something out of the way first before we get onto the game between Villa and Man United. I want your guys' opinion on all the arguments that are happening at the moment with regards to how good Greenwood has been in form and whether or not we actually need Jadon Sancho desperately. Now, I know we do need Sancho, and I know that's very obvious, but my question really is, what is your guys' thoughts on fans comparing players? Do you think that's toxic and corrosive, or do you think it's okay? Because personally, I think it's a bit weird that we like to compare players at Manchester United. I do. I think you can see it with the De Gea and the Dean Henderson thing. There's nothing wrong with saying, I think, in my opinion, this player would be better for this position. But there is something wrong when you start making comparisons and you start throwing stats and you start saying, this guy shouldn't be playing, blah, 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 blah. Unless he's had a terrible season like Lingard. I think it becomes a bit toxic and corrosive, and I don't understand why we turn players against each other when they're supposed to be helping each other, you know? What is your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I think football fans, in general, they like doing these type of things. I mean, I can be accused of doing it as well. You say some things, but obviously, at the end of the day, if you're taking it to another level and it's not just friendly banter aside, then it does become very toxic. And like, if you look at United's dressing room and the whole team, everything's so positive. No one looks like they've got any agendas against each other. It doesn't look like some guy doesn't agree with this guy. It's a very happy camp. Everyone's happy with each other. Even the guys on the bench. I've seen videos of Daniel James dancing around this morning, which really brightened up my day. So, and in terms of the Sancho thing about us not needing Sancho, listen, we need Sancho. I just said Greenwood could possibly put him on the bench. But that's not a bad thing because we need squad depth. Or they could all rotate. Some people even said that even Rashford could be the one because Sancho can play on the left and they think he's better on the left. So, there's many arguments for that. But we need Sancho. And if the argument is to be that Greenwood stays, Sancho doesn't come, but if that means we get Grealish and a centre-back or a CDM, but we don't get Sancho, then it could get interesting. Because if Sancho not coming means that... I was just trying to say, because if Sancho not coming means we had to get, just to say in a fancy world, Jack Grealish and a centre-back or 2-3 signings, then I would possibly do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense because you don't see clubs like Man City saying Mahrez versus Sané versus Sterling. So I feel like us United fans do it way more than the other big clubs. And it's ironic because them being at the club and playing together is better for the club's future. So I don't know why we do that. I guess you can compare players, but then it mustn't go to an extent, as Marcus says, we're comparing stats and it gets toxic. So I don't know why United fans do that, which is ironic because the club itself and the players themselves seem very unified, as Shady said. So it's just weird, really. And in terms of Jadon Sancho, look, he's world class, or he's been world class this season. So we have to do everything to get him. But like as I've said in I think 2 episodes ago or the last episode, if we didn't get him, for me it wouldn't be a train smash if we get in someone to help Greenwood. And I think Greenwood's ready to play more games. Maybe not start every game, but play more games.
Yeah, I think the Greenwood thing needs to be put to bed. Like, Greenwood's a fantastic player. Greenwood for an 18-year-old. There's no 18-year-old who's better in the world than Mason Greenwood, right? But I've had this argument or this conversation too many times with young players. There's, for every Rooney, for every Van Persie, for every Lionel Messi, for every Ronaldo, there's 10 other players who are on par with them but just got injured and never recovered. For every Raheem Sterling, there's a Sturridge out there who was on par with him, who was actually probably doing better than him in his first best season. But look what happened to Sturridge and look what happened to Sterling. If Sturridge didn't get the injury problems that he had before Klopp and shortly when Klopp was there, you could argue that Sturridge could have went to Barca like Coutinho. He could have went to City like Sterling. He could have been winning trophies now, but he got injured. Sturridge was a fantastic player in that season when he was playing with Sterling, Suarez. Was it Suarez? Or was
he
it
scored
Coutinho
25
or
goals.
Sterling? Yeah,
With
he was having an
Sterling-
amazing season, right? Like, there's many of these examples. And I'm not saying Sturridge is the same as Mason Greenwood. Please don't twist my words. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Mason Greenwood is human, and he needs to avoid injury. And playing him every game at such a young age is not the way you do it by avoiding injury. Now, I think with regards to Sancho, we have to get Jadon Sancho. I am not hearing anything about a Sancho alternative. It's not a complete train wreck if we do go for a Sancho alternative and keep Mason Greenwood and his development goes on the trajected path that it's on right now. It's not a train smash, of course not. If Mason Greenwood became the best player in the world, why would you complain about not signing Sancho, right? But if he doesn't become the best player in the world and Traore comes here, for argument's sake, and doesn't live up to even the expectations we have of Traore, some of us, it's pale in comparison to what we'd get if we just signed Sancho, because there's so many positives to signing Sancho. I mean, some people think Mason Greenwood could even bench Sancho, so that's a positive in itself. It would push Greenwood to be even better if he had Sancho's competition on that right-hand side. You know, there's so many positives to Jadon Sancho coming, and I just think anyone other than Jadon Sancho is a fat L. Not a train wreck, but a fat L, you know? That's where I stand on Sancho.
I feel like a lot of us tend to build like this emotional attachment to our players. So you're Greenwood FC and like Greenwood at the start, and if Sancho comes, when will Greenwood play? So I feel like that is an issue in our fan base.
That is an issue, and I think it's a childish one. You know, I've got emotional attachments to players, but when Rashford was playing poorly, I had no problems with calling him Trashford because he was playing poorly. And like, I have an emotional attachment to players, but I have an emotional attachment to United winning trophies as well. It's that simple, bro. It's that simple. And in order for us to get back to winning trophies, you know, somebody guts to go, or somebody guts to sit on the bench every now and then. It's just the way it is, man. But anyway, let's get into it, man. Yeah, sorry. You can say what you want to say.
The club is bigger than the players, really, as harsh as that might sound.
It is, bro. People want to come out here and call you negative and toxic, but ultimately you just want what's best for Manchester United. I think we all do, but what's best is not necessarily your favorite player wearing the shirt game in, game out, you know? And people forget that. Even the comparisons to Pogba and Bruno, in my opinion, are childish. They're in the same midfield doing different roles. Like, can we just live in peace and harmony with Bruno and Pogba and not talk about who's better, you know? But anyways, enough of that. Let's talk about the Aston Villa versus Manchester United game. First of all, what are your thoughts and your expectations going into this game of both Villa and Manchester United? And second of all, do you think the games like this should be written off as winnable games, or do you think we're not praising our first team enough for the turnaround they've had? Because a few months ago we'd be looking at a game like this saying, "Ooh, I don't know if United are going to win this one. They should, but I don't know if they will." Whereas now our attitude has changed with this team, and it seems like some people are just assuming we're going to run Villa off, and that might be dangerous. You know, we're just going to run them off the park. That might be dangerous because, like, what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing right now is not that easy. People don't give him enough credit. So, what's your opinions on that?
Well, you know, since the obviously lockdown started and then the break happened, and you know, ever since the game started again, United have been in fine form. You know, I think our first team should definitely run Villa off. I watched a lot of Villa, lots of Villa. I think I maybe watched 70% of Villa's games this season. Simple reason: this man on the screen, Jack Grealish. I always keep an eye on him. So yeah, that's the only reason. But ever since the resume of the season, Villa have been struggling. They can't create a chance. They can't. If it's not Grealish, nothing is happening. Nothing is happening defensively. Nothing's happening midfield. Nothing's happening in attack. So, a simple way: you block Grealish from doing his game, United will win this game. I think even with a hybrid team, we could possibly still win this game. But I think definitely the first team should play, and if the first team plays, we should run Villa over and just let stop Grealish from playing his game. Because last time this fixture happened, Grealish was the reason we lost.
We drew. Did we lose?
Drew or lost, I can't remember. But we didn't win. I know we didn't win. Yeah, we didn't win.
Yeah, we drew, but our defense was whack back then. Look, I'll start with Villa. Like, it's a shame what's happening to them because with a club of such a historic stature, you'd like them to stay in the Premier League. It's like they belong in the Premier League because they've been here for so long. They've done so much for English football, and that now they're going to get relegated again after just coming back. It's a bit sad. And they've struggled this season. Like, they're not bad into the goal scoring. I think they're better than a lot of teams above them. Like, they have more goals than Sheffield United, which is insane.
Yeah.
But they share in goals. They concede a ridiculous amount of goals, and that's been their downfall. And instead of United, we've been playing championship football, like championship form. We've been brilliant, and it's very difficult when a team is playing like that to not write off teams like this. But then on the other side, if you've watched the Premier League long enough, you know that anything can happen. But I still think we will beat them.
Yeah, look, there's an old saying in English football: no club is too big for relegation, and teams like Leeds United and Aston Villa are proof of that. I just think now it's a lot harder for big clubs to get relegated because of the financial advantage and how far they are ahead of the game. It's kind of like capitalism, you know? The rich get rich and the poor get poorer. And I apply the same theory to football nowadays. It's like some teams just are so far ahead that if they messed it up, it would be bad. It would be terrible. Like if Manchester United got relegated in the next 20 years, God forbid, touch wood, it would be much worse than when Villa got relegated because it's just so different now. Football is so different now. And to go from being the club with the biggest revenue in the world to a team that's struggling for relegation is almost unheard of. And everything that could go wrong in a season would have to go wrong for that to happen, right? Like we'd have to sack 3 managers and they'd all have to do badly throughout the season.
Chelsea were flirting relegation in Mourinho's last season, and they finished.
Yeah, they were, and you see what I mean. Like Chelsea sacked Mourinho. They were like, "This guy won us a title." But it doesn't matter. That's in the past now. Look at where we are on the table. We're going to sack him. And that's the mentality of a big club nowadays. That's why I'm saying it's so hard for a big club to get relegated. Like Chelsea would have had to hire the wrong manager after Mourinho. That manager would have had to go on a bad run. Then they would have had to fire him and hire another manager who went on a bad run. It's like so many things have to go wrong. Like everything. Like there has to be a black cat walking across the field for a
It's
top
like
6
it's harder
club to
to
get relegated. Yeah, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult. And my point with that is, I don't think Manchester United are in a threatened position. Yeah, look, we've gone 16 games without losing, and yes, anything can happen. Yes, it's not over till the fat lady sings, but I think there's an argument that Manchester United on form, not in terms of position on the table, not in terms of position in the Europa League or the fact that we're still in all competitions except the Carabao Cup because that's over anyways, but on form, I think we're one of the best teams in England and arguably really, really have our hands up for being one of the better teams in Europe just on form alone in comparison. Because I don't think that many teams are on a 16-game unbeaten run around Europe and in England. So we're in red-hot form at the moment. And we're obviously better than Villa in terms of the footballing side. I mean, look at where they are. So I think we should win this game quite easily.
I feel like the standard of the big teams in the Premier League has risen a lot. Because back in the day, Chelsea could still win the Premier League, but then go and lose to QPR, as I always use this example. But nowadays, like when big teams are on form, specifically Man City and Liverpool, it seems like they just run over the small teams. And I feel like that's how we've been
in the last 16 games. Yeah. It's difficult. It's difficult to do what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing. Like, people don't understand how difficult it is to go 16 games unbeaten in the Premier League. The last time we had a run like that, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been a long time since we've had a run like that.
Probably since Ole got the job, not when he came in.
Yeah, but even besides that period where Mourinho went like 17 games unbeaten and 12 of them were draws and only 5 of them were actually wins, there hasn't really been a period where Manchester United has won this many consecutively. I would say since Fergie's been here, to be honest. And I heard a crazy stat like we haven't selected the same starting 11 3 consecutive times since Fergie. That's mad.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's mad, bro. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's breaking records left, right, and centre, good and bad, at Manchester United. I mean, he even got the record for the first man to get 6 subs in the FA Cup. You know what I'm saying? That's a dumb record. No, but I think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United are definitely doing something right. We're getting very lucky with penalties. We're getting very lucky with VAR. Everything's working in our favour. And something would have to go terribly wrong for us to lose to a team like Villa. I'm just scared of the games after that and whether or not we can continue this form, because I think people are getting comfortable in the fan base. People are just like, oh, it's expected. You have Bruno and Pogba in the same team. What? It's not expected. to get Bruno Fernandes and Pogba to work the way they are right now. It's not magic. You don't just say go express yourselves and then that's not how it works, you know. And that brings me on to my next question. What do you guys think of the tactics? Is there something that you've noticed as a visible difference, or are you on this train of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just told everyone to express themselves like the first 3 months? Because I've noticed the difference.
No, there is differences. He's still playing his formation, but I think he's given Pogba more of a free role. Told Matic to lie deeper, do the drop back technique, and he's definitely pushed Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka way up the field now. Like Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw are always making the overlapping runs. So you definitely, and you can also, like, the strikers and everything are switching. And I don't think that's Rashford saying I want to go here and Marshall saying I want to go on the left. I think they're told to change all the time, see where the weakness is and change.
Look, in terms of the fullbacks being very high and us pressing very high now, and the striker switching, I think that is the difference that's been made now. But in terms of our general attacking play, I just think it's always been how Ole's been instilling the tactics, but he just never had the players to do it properly. And now we can see what he's been trying to do with the right players. That's what I think, honestly.
No, definitely. Like, you can see the short, intricate passing. You can see the long balls from Pogba and Matic every now and then. You can see, I mean, we've spoken countless times on this channel about the transition play and how good Manchester United have become on transition. Everyone said you can't win a league title or you can't make top four playing park the bus counter-attack football. Well, in transition, this team's pretty dangerous with Pogba and Bruno in it because, like, as I tried to paint that scenario in your head, when Manchester United's on the break now, it's not just Bruno. It's Bruno, it's Pogba distributing the ball or Matic distributing the ball, and we know they can both hit fantastic diagonal balls. It's Rashford on the left, it's Greenwood on the right, it's Martial down the middle, and it's Bruno overlapping if Martial decides to hold up, or Pogba overlapping, or even Matic sometimes. So there's just a lot of options. I mean, look at the counter-attack goal that Bruno scored, the volley against Brighton. That's an example of what I was talking about there. Bruno did the thing I'm talking about. He overlapped. So Martial wasn't on the end of that, but Bruno was. And there's just so many attacking options and so many threats in our attack right now, which makes it very promising, you know. Obviously, squad depth is an issue, but I'm just saying.
I think we don't have to rely on the counter anymore. We still counter, but then we know how to take care of the ball.
On it. Yeah.
And
100%.
We control the midfield, and we can feel more confident in pressing higher because we know that we won't leave too many gaps because we've got Matic and we've got decent defenders. So, better players and help with these stats.
Yeah, and who do you think the credit goes to? Because I've got to put my hand up and say, I've actually made a massive mistake in the past. Actually, it wasn't a mistake because our team was crap and now they're playing well. So I'll give credit where it's due. I think the credit goes towards the coaching staff. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will get the credit because he's the manager. And when we play badly, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will get the sack because he's the manager, not Michael Carrick. But I think the tactics of the team, and you can apply this to any manager. I mean, let's talk about Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho was this great tactician who could win against Barcelona using an Inter Milan side that everyone thought was done in that semi-final and got a reputation for being a tactical genius. But as soon as he lost his assistant manager, all of a sudden everything fell apart, you know? And I think we don't give coaching staff behind the managers enough credit. We don't give the guys that work behind the scenes and the actual coaches in the team, not just the manager, enough credit. So how much credit do you think goes to Carrick and Phelan and McKenna for the improvement in our tactics?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure. I don't
know. He's not a possession merchant. I can give you that much. I will give Ollie. Okay, look, I will give you a chance to answer, and I know I'm being a little bit rude, but I think with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, what I give him credit for is the man management. That's what I give him credit for. That the positivity in the camp, the improvement of Martial, the improvement of Rashford, and the improvement of Greenwood. I know that's Ollie because Ollie was a striker himself, and there's evidence to suggest that he was a brilliant. Like he's got a brilliant mind.
Yeah, he's an insane striker.
Yeah. So in terms of how positive everyone is, he's a very good man manager. Ollie's not a tactician. He's a very good man manager. I don't know who to give credit for the tactics. Who do you guys think it goes to?
Oof. You know,
I mean, the philosophy is his, but I'm talking about the actual implementation.
Yeah, look.
I don't know. I don't know. So you can speak.
Look,
everyone, I guess.
There's no manager who does it alone. I mean, like, even the great managers, no way Pep does what he does alone. But with Ole, I think it's much worse because he's an inexperienced manager. And as much as it was said that he used to be very tactical and he'd analyze the game off the bench, I don't think he's amazing at tactics. And as Marcus says, I think his man managing is his number one quality. So I think he's helped there. But I think his team has helped him a lot and have.
Yeah.
They say Terry McKenna is really good at tactics, and I think we can't just say because we're playing badly, we were putting all the blame on him, but then now we're playing good. We're not gonna praise him when he's in charge of tactics. I feel like that's not fair. So I think a lot of the praise has to go to him as well.
Yeah, but that's how football works. That's how football works. That's how business works. You know, that's how football works. If the team does badly, it's the manager's fault. If the team does well, it's the manager's fault. You know, I mean, it's the manager's. He deserves the praise. That's how football works. He's the face he's the head of that coaching staff, so he's gonna get all the credit. That's just how life works, bro. You know, then wait there. The lead singer in the band gets all the credit, but the band is working their ass off. You know, the CEO of a company always gets the credit, and if the company's doing bad and there's no numbers, the CEO gets fired. Meanwhile, the COO or someone in HR is corrupt, stealing money, but you'll never know because the CEO is the public figure of the company. So that's just how it works. I just think with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I give him credit for the playing style and like saying this is how I want Manchester United to play. But the actual implementation of those tactics and the people who are saying, okay, this is how we're going to achieve it. Pass here, the actual patterns, I don't think is completely him. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you said there that he used to sit on the bench and read the game. I think from an attacking sense, yes, but overall, not really. Like, I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was looking at Manchester United saying, ooh, you know what? I don't know who our defensive pairing was, so I'm just going to make an example with Vidic and Ferdinand. I know they weren't playing at the same time, but I don't think he was sitting there like, ooh, I think Vidic is a little bit off in defense there. No, he was looking at Weza in the front and Rooney going, okay, this is what I need to change when I come on. This is the spaces I need to exploit. Brighton are looking a little bit sketchy in these areas, so when I get on, I'm going to run into that channel until I get a pass from Scholes or someone. You know, that's what I think he is really good at. But I don't know about the tactics of the whole team. You know, I question his defensive, even though we've had 17 clean sheets. I question his defensive prowess in terms of tactics. It's weird. I think he's a much better man manager than Mourinho, though. I'll give him that much. You know, because Mourinho's got this Mourinho's a great tactician, but he's got this my way or the highway shtick of his that I don't think works in modern football nowadays. But anyways, predicted this side.
Man delegates a lot.
But I think the great managers do that. You know, I do. I really do. Like, I think Fergie did a lot of delegating in his time. There's obviously no evidence for it, but I think a lot of the credit goes to Fergie, and it should because he's the manager. But I mean, Fergie had some phenomenal teams and some phenomenal systems and some hardworking people who all had a common vision of what they wanted the club to be and just worked at it, you know. There was never a point in Fergie's time where, you know, half the team just wasn't good enough and then the other half just wanted to leave and go to Madrid in the summer. Everyone had that common vision. And so I think there would have been a lot of ideas bounced off. But yeah, anyways, man, predict this side, if you've got one.
I mean,
for this game, it's pretty easy.
It's so lovely. It's so lovely. I haven't changed it. Yeah, I haven't changed it for a long time. And I'm happy. I haven't changed it.
By the way, what did you think of all his comments? Because he said he was going to rest some players and then he came out and started the full team. You think he was playing mind games?
He's probably playing.
What's that?
They call it kidology, apparently. Oh, I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't heard of that one. Today's the first thing I heard of that. But yeah, no, that's nice to see some mind games. The only concern I have maybe with this is Lindelof's condition. I don't know if he's fit enough because he went off at half time. So I think if we don't see people on this first team, it could be Lindelof, which is scary.
So we're going to see Bailly.
Who knows?
I mean, I want to ask you guys about that because there's some news surfacing of... Actually, it's not news. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually said this after the game about Nathan Ake. When he was asked about Ake, he said that he should keep doing what he's doing. We do need a left-sided centre-back. And Ake is a left-sided centre-back. So what do you think of Ake fitting into this team at the moment? Because I'll tell you what, in terms of him versus Bailly might be the more talented centre-back, but ultimately, in a pairing, I think I prefer him next to Maguire than Bailey, because Bailey's just a nut job, okay? Twanzebe hasn't played in a year. I don't have faith in him as much as I did before, because firstly, I haven't seen him in a year, but secondly, young players shouldn't be out for that long. And then you look at Lindelof, we've already talked about why he doesn't complement Maguire. And who else? Rojo and Jones. So what do you think of Ake?
I just want to check his
comparison
age.
to what we have.
Okay, so he's 25. 25.
He's decent,
You know,
compared to what we've got. I'm not saying we should sign him, just compared to what we've got.
I think, it all depends on this market. Like, if we had to get Sancho, Grealish, and Ake, I was telling my one friend, when was it? 2 days ago, that, if you had to take one player from each of the relegation teams, you could probably, your value for money is ridiculous. You could get Grealish, you could get Nathan Ake, and you could get Todd Cantwell. And, I don't know how much Nathan Ake would cost in this type of market, but if he was around like
cheap, if they got relegated.
I think, listen, if he was like for 20 mil, I'd get him. I'd get him for 20. Definitely.
That's a dub for me, bro. That's
a dub for me. Because, 20
I
mil,
like
you could probably sell Sanchez for that. And then there's your wages gone. You use Sanchez money to buy in another defender. And Ake, I've always liked him. I didn't expect him to be that old. Feels like Ake is still like a lot younger in my head.
Yeah, because he has that reputation of being a young player with promise, kind of like Theo Walcott.
Yeah.
Even when he was 29, you were there like potential. Ooh.
But like again, who else are you gonna get in this if you want to get a centre back this window? If you want to get a centre back this window, there's probably no one better.
I think there are other options.
Unless,
I like the Koulibaly debate comes down to money.
Yeah,
but
and I like the That's what I like.
Yeah.
I think you could probably get him for around the same price, and that's what I would get.
Yeah, no, I think it is down to finances, and obviously we all want Koulibaly, but it's going to be hard to get the other players who want plus Koulibaly. And I'm trying to run down the Premier League and see who else could fit what you want. And I can't find many. I think Issa Diop could, but I think Ake is a bit more consistent. So I would definitely do the deal and just see what it gives us. If he doesn't start and not start, he'll definitely give us something better on the bench.
Yeah, I don't know, because I think what makes it more interesting is that Harry Maguire plays on the left. And I know Harry Maguire can probably do a decent job on the right, but this, if you're a conspiracy theorist and you're one of those football fans that likes to dive deep into simple quotes from managers, this is a good one for you. Because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in a game where Harry Maguire's gotten nutmegged, has said we need a left-sided centre-back. Ake should keep doing what he's doing.
I don't know if you guys also seen the video after we played Bournemouth, where he had a bit of a chat, and it was very clear where he told
he shook Ake's hand.
And it was like you could keep going.
See, managers don't do that with opposition players often, unless they have some sort of personal relationship off the pitch. You know, what does a Norwegian legend have to say to Ake?
Let's think of it like this. Who do we have to replace Maguire, actually?
I don't know, but I don't think Ake would come in to replace Maguire. I think Ake would come in and play with Maguire or with Lindelof, because Ake's got the pace that we lack in one of the centre-back positions. And I honestly, now I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but this is just my assessment of it. And I honestly think Ake would fit in very well. Now, I don't think Maguire should get dropped. I think Maguire should just move to the right and Ake should play on the left. Maguire is right-footed, so there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to play on the right side. And I think that could work, but I don't know. If Ake comes here and sits on the bench, that's not very difficult, because ultimately, if Bournemouth is getting relegated, why wouldn't you go to Old Trafford, even if you're sitting on the bench? A lot of players would, even though there's a stigma around that nowadays. A lot of players would, and I think Ake, for him, this would be kind of like a dream move, So it's interesting. I don't know. That's why I wanted your guys' thoughts.
I know us fans have talked about the pace, and pundits have, but I'm trying to get into Ole's head, and I don't know if Ole minds Lindelof and Maguire for one more season. I think he might be okay with that. And when he says need, I'm trying to think about it, and I think he might mean to replace Maguire, because Maguire plays pretty much every game. And
possibly.
He needs someone to give him some rest. So I think that could be Nathan Ake.
That's true. But answer this then. Nathan Ake comes in, right? Maguire rests or Lindelof rests, right? Lindelof, let's take it, picks up an injury. Nathan Ake plays next to Maguire for 11, 12, 13, 14 games, 16 games. And he plays exceptionally well. Lindelof recovers. Do you drop Ake now, when Ake is clearly proven to be the better centre-half partner?
No.
And that's what I think will happen if Ake comes to Old Trafford. If he does take his chance, obviously. He could very well just play poorly. That's a possibility.
But I would say,
that's what I
like,
think
if United really and probably don't want to spend on a centre back, which is understandable because of who we want and what the priority is. What I would say is, like, I don't know what the situation is, but I would honestly consider bringing Smalling back. I would ask.
I would too. I think Smalling.
What are your plans? Do you want to play first team? Because if you want to play first team, we can give you a spot.
Smalling works because he saves us money. I hate to sound cliche and I hate to sound like Ed Woodward, but it's like a new signing for $0. It's free. We just bring him back and he's proven in Europe. I know Roma's a slower league, but he's proven that he's one of the top centre backs in Europe, and there's no reason why he can't be given another chance. You know.
I think the only worry with Smalling is what we've seen in the past, and he wasn't horrible, but then there's a reason that we will really let him go. But besides that, what is and his attributes fit what we need.
I would defend Smalling and say he hasn't had the right partner next to him. Like Smalling never got a chance to play next to Maguire. Yeah, he never got a chance to play next to Maguire. That's the thing about Smalling.
The only argument I have with Smalling is definitely his age. You know, he's going to be 30. He's already 30, actually. So we still need a centre back.
I think, look, right, we're not spending 10 million quid on a 30-year-old. We're getting a 30-year-old who's in form, who's playing well, and can give us a couple of decent seasons next to Maguire while we wait to buy a new centre back.
I think it depends all on what Smalling wants to do.
Yeah, I think it's a fat dub. Like people talk about Smalling's age, right? When you talk about a player's age, it's different when you want to sign a player, and it's different when you're bringing a player back. If you're signing a player, that's wages that you're going to have to pay, and the player might be in decline. We're already paying Smalling's wage, so we're not losing anything by using him in our team, especially if he's playing well, you know? It would be like if Matic was on loan. We weren't buying him at this age. We were just bringing him back to the team, you know? So, yeah. But if we had to go out and sign a 30-year-old and spend money, and then spend more money 3 years from now because he's old and he's in decline, that becomes a waste of money. Whereas with Smalling, if he's a short-term fix and we buy a long-term, we haven't lost anything, you know? And that's why Smalling works. Now, should Manchester United be trying to save money? Probably not, but Smalling deserves it, man. He's played well.
Yeah.
He's played well.
I feel like Smalling, it's the same issue. For a long time, he was actually our best defender. But then he's having to do everything because there's no one else to help him.
Exactly.
So we can see Pogba now because there's Matic and Bruno.
Exactly. Yeah, man. But besides that, there isn't really much to talk about around this game. What are you guys' score predictions? Because we already know how these teams are probably going to play. Villa's probably going to sit back, and we've learned that Manchester United are creative enough to break down the low block now. We've played Sheffield United at home. We've played Brighton away from home. We've beat both them and unlocked them multiple times. So what are your score predictions for this one?
Usually I am the guy who has the funny feelings about these games. But like I said, I watch a lot of Villa. And Villa at the moment, they can't
They're just not on it.
They can't. They really can't. Like I said, if it's not Grealish, nothing is happening. And if United's first team plays, this should be a dub, guys. Like, you know, I'm never the type of guy. And usually I don't want egg on my face, but this game here, for me, it's like, come on. I love Grealish. This will hopefully be his last time playing against us, and you know, next season he come and play in our shirt.
We've got a relegate.
I'm gonna say, okay, right, let me be nice. I'm gonna say 3-1 United. Grealish gets the goal for Villa.
That time that's being nice. Hey, United fans get big heads nowadays, eh?
Like I'm trying to think of what hope they have. Like
that's the only hope they have.
Well, maybe United could do what they did against Bournemouth and concede a dumb goal. I mean, Maguire might get nutmegged again if there's hope for Villa. You know, it's about whether or not they can keep a 1-0 lead, which I don't think they can. You know?
Maybe they can be compound and make it difficult for us, but it just seems like a tall order. It really does. Like they have Grealish, but they don't have a striker. Goals, they score decently, but I don't think they have an outball at the moment. And United have had so much rest because they're only playing on Thursday. Like, I just don't see how Villa do anything.
Rich is going to be there doing the Ollie thing during the game, telling them to get compact because they 1-0 up. But Ollie Dons, fam, you know them right there.
I'll be nice to them as well and agree with Trini. 3-1.
Yeah, I think 3-1 is fair. I think 3-0 is also fair. I don't think we'll score 5 goals again because you don't just score 5 goals in the Premier League. But yeah, I think there isn't much else to say about this game. If you did enjoy that, it's a lot shorter than our usual shows. Don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing if you are new and you enjoy this kind of content, as it helps the channel grow. But without dragging this on for too long, enjoy the rest of your day or evening. Peace out.